What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka New York Prepper, and just wanted to wish everybody Happy New Year. It's New Year's Eve 2019, and I just wanted to wish everyone a Happy New Year. I hope that, all you guys, that all your dreams come true in 2020. I wish you guys good fortune. I hope and pray that you and your families stay safe and stay healthy, and all your dreams come to fruition. So just wanted to say that, and I'll keep you guys all in my prayers. And I pray that all you guys out there have a great 2020, and that 2020 is better than 2019 for you, and that your life continues to move forward. And I wish really good things for you guys. So thanks for supporting my channel, all you guys out there that watch the live streams and watch my videos, comment on them. I appreciate that a lot, and I enjoy reading your comments. So I have a lot of things planned for 2020 for my channel. I'm gonna make a lot of different videos. I bought new cameras this year in 2019. I bought a GoPro and a rugged outdoor camera, so I'm going to take those along with me for some outdoor training. I'm going to do some bug out training. I'm going to do some survival skills training, and I'm going to have some lessons for you guys on survival skills, and bugging out, things like that. So look out for those videos coming in 2020. I plan to do a lot of them on wilderness survival, urban survival, and I'm also going to do some bug out training videos. I'm also going to get more into firearms on my channel. I've been a gun enthusiast for all of my adult life, and so far this channel's been very focused on prepping, but I'm going to get into firearms a little more, and I'm going to try to stay with the prepping theme, but I'm going to get more into firearms. And this year, particularly in 2020, I'm building a long-range precision rifle, 300 Win Mag custom rifle. So I'm going to film some videos of me shooting that, and give you guys some tips on how to build a custom rifle for long-range uses, and how to select a long-range rifle. I'm going to do a lot of videos on that. Because long-range shooting is a passion of mine. I've gotten into it like probably 3-4 years ago. I got into long-range shooting. I built a 338 Lapua, which I actually sold, and now I'm building a 300 Win Mag because I feel that the 338 Lapua was just too expensive and overly powered for my uses. So I decided to go with a 300 Win Mag. So it's been a passion of mine for a few years, long-range shooting, and I'd like to teach you guys a lot about it, and take you with me on my shooting trips, and take you with me on my journey to building, the ultimate long-range precision rifle for any purpose. So I'm going to take you guys along for my journey. You're going to see the ups and the downs. You're going to see the how I shoot, how good the rifle shoots, things like that. And you're gonna come with me on the whole journey. So I'm looking forward to bringing you guys that. And as always, I'm gonna keep making prepping videos. I'm gonna keep with my weekly live streams, and I'd like to get more into politics and geopolitics. So far, a lot of my videos on my channel are very tactical and focused on the tactical level, with specific preps and specific guns and tactics and things like that. But now I'd like to get more into the philosophical aspects of prepping, and look at prepping and look at the world at a higher level, rather than just focusing on the tactics, the guns, what kind of preps you should have, what types of batteries, what types of rifle cartridges. I'd like to get more into the strategic level and thinking about it from a higher level perspective, at a big picture point of view. and get more into the philosophy, the psychology of prepping, you know, the mentality of a prepper and a survivalist, how to survive, all the mental aspects that go into it, and also more into the geopolitics. I'm going to talk a lot more about geopolitics and world events, you know, so look out for that as well, coming, you know, in 2020. And I definitely want to do some bug out training. It's something that I've wanted to do and film it. You know, I've wanted to film it for the last 2 years. Ever since I started my channel, I wanted to do a practice bug out, you know, or a practice get home situation where I would take my bug out bag and try to, you know, move out of escape from a city, or, you know, cross a long distance on foot, you know, through wilderness areas, through urban areas, you know, to try to simulate a real bug out situation. And I want to capture it on film, so you guys can learn from me and see what I do. And I've wanted to do that for a while. It's just finding the time and planning it out in such a way that I can actually do it without breaking laws and things like that. It's difficult, you know, so, but that's still on my agenda. So probably around mid 2020 in the summer, I'm probably going to do some kind of a practice bug out, and I'm going to get it on film so you guys can have some, you guys can learn from my experience, and, you know, maybe get a little bit of entertainment value from it as well. You know, so those are my plans for 2020, and, you know, now I want to do a quick discussion on what to expect in 2020 and beyond, the next decade, as far as a prepper and, you know, world politics, you know, world events, things like that. You know, what should you expect as a prepper? What are the things that you need to look out for? What are the threats, possible threats to our country and to our way of life? And, you know, what are some things that could potentially cause an SHTF situation where you would actually have to, you know, mobilize your preps and you know, prep for. So first thing I want to talk about is, obviously we have North Korea, which, you know, it looks like the peace talks with North Korea are breaking down. And, you know, I think that North Korea is going to continue to develop their missile capabilities, which in my opinion is dangerous, because China and Russia are using North Korea as a proxy against us, you know. And I believe that Russia and China are helping North Korea with their nuclear program and with their missile capabilities. I think that, you know, Russia has a lot of nuclear scientists. They have a lot of biological and chemical warfare scientists. And I believe that they're in North Korea right now, you know, helping North Korea build up their nuclear program, build up their biological and chemical weapons inventories. You know, I feel that Russia and China want to draw us into a war on the Korean Peninsula, and they're using Korea, you know, North Korea, as a way of instigating that, you know. And what they want is for us to get bogged down in another war, especially in the Korean Peninsula. A war there would be catastrophic, you know, and that would weaken our military quite a bit, and that would open up some fronts for Russia and China to expand, because we'll be preoccupied in Korea, you know, dealing with Korea. So then they're gonna, let's say, try to take Taiwan, or, you know, take more land in the South China Sea, or Russia may try to, you know, invade the Caucasus and take, you know, Azerbaijan or Georgia. You know, Azerbaijan has a big oil supply. They may try to take Ukraine back. They may go into Finland, or, you know, Eastern Europe, Baltics, you know, the Balkan countries, whatever. You know, so they may use us being bogged down in a war in Korea in order to expand their territory and strategic interests. So that's something to look out for, is the Korean Peninsula. Also Korea, they have been known to have electromagnetic pulse weapons, and they have satellites that orbit the Earth. And it's pretty well known, or suspected actually, that, you know, North Korea may have an EMP weapon on one of the satellites that they have orbiting the Earth, and at any time they could detonate that weapon, and it'll cause an EMP across the United States. And something like that would be absolutely devastating. An EMP would be worse than, it'd probably be worse than a nuclear war, because it would be a slow, painful, demise of our country, an EMP. And it would also open up an invasion for Russia and China. They could invade our country after the EMP, because the EMP would weaken us. It would weaken our military, weaken our infrastructure. Give it 6 months and people will be killing themselves, or killing each other for food and resources. So then Russia and China could move in and try to invade and take some of our land. So, you guys should be ready for an EMP. And you should be ready for any kind of small nuclear exchange. I always have EMP bags, which are Mylar bags that I keep all my critical electronics in. So like not my cell phone, I don't care about that, but my ham radio, night vision, thermal, especially the ham radio, any other critical electronics, radiation dosimeter, I keep all those in Mylar bags, which act as a Faraday cage and protect the electronics in case there was an EMP. But you want to protect all your critical electronics from EMPs. And you can get EMP bags. I've done a review on my channel of the EMP bags. They're just Mylar bags that, you can put stuff in and you seal it, and it acts as a Faraday cage, basically. So keep an eye on the Korean Peninsula, and be prepared for an EMP or some type of escalation over there. And then the next thing is obviously Russia and China. I believe that in the next 10 years, Russia and China are going to increase in strength. China is continuously growing their military. They have more aircraft carriers now. They're continuously building up their aircraft carrier inventory. They're building up their naval capability so they can match us with our Navy, because we have a global Navy. No country in the world has a global Navy like we do, but China wants to get up to that level that we are at, and that's something to keep an eye out. If 10 years from now, if China doubles their aircraft carrier inventory and they have a lot of destroyers and stuff like that, that's going to be a problem. And then obviously Russia, and also China's building up their nuclear weapons inventory as well. They buy a lot of weapons from Russia. They have S-400 missile defense systems, which are basically a missile interceptor. They have a lot of nuclear weapons that they're building up. They're buying a lot of them from Russia. They're building up their Air Force. They have stealth fighters now that they're trying to build up their stealth fighter inventory. And who knows what else. They're obviously working on hypersonics, just like we are in Russia. They're working on hypersonic glide vehicles, which are very dangerous. I did a live stream last Friday, or this past Friday. I did a live stream, and in the live stream I talk about hypersonic glide vehicles and how much of a threat they are. A hypersonic glide vehicle is basically it's an aircraft that's launched up in the air by a ballistic missile, but once it gets in the air, it can carry a nuclear payload, but it's a glider, so it can move, maneuver out of the way of an interceptor, So like a regular ICBM, it gets launched up at a predictable trajectory, just like a mortar, It comes up, and it comes up, and it comes down in an arc. And it makes it easy to shoot down, because if this is my left hand here is my interceptor, and here's the ICBM from North Korea, I launch up the ICBM, the interceptor is going to calculate a path of where it's going to go, because it's a predictable path, just like a mortar. So at this point, the interceptor can calculate where the missile is going to go, and it can intercept it and knock it out. That's with a traditional ICBM. Now with a hypersonic glide vehicle, you have your missile here, but what happens is the missile goes up, and once it gets to a certain altitude, it deploys the hypersonic glider, and the glider will be going 27 times the speed of sound. And that glider, it can actually maneuver, because it's a glider. it can move. It can move. It's aerodynamic. It can maneuver through the air. So as it's flying, the interceptor, it may calculate an area to intercept it, but the glider can change its trajectory. It can go down, it can go up. It can maneuver out of the way, and so hypersonic gliders, in my opinion, are going to be the next arms race. Russia recently, last week, deployed their new Avangard glider, into their military. They've already tested it. They've already deployed it. It's in use right now as we speak. The Avangard missile. It can go 27 times the speed of sound, and it can carry a nuclear payload, and it can go anywhere on the Earth, supposedly. So hypersonic gliders are going to change nuclear warfare and strategic nuclear warfare tremendously, because right now, we have what's called the nuclear triad, which is the nuclear triad. The three legs of the triad is air, water, and ground-based. So the nuclear triad, you have your ICBMs, and like I said, with the ICBMs, they can easily be shot down because they come at a predictable trajectory, versus the gliders, they move, they're like a plane. So that's going to fundamentally change everything about nuclear strategy and nuclear warfare. It's going to fundamentally change the whole mutually assured destruction thing, because it's not going to be easy to intercept these glide vehicles, and it's going to add an extra leg to the nuclear triad. So like, for example, like with the triad, typically here in the U.S. we have ground-based missile silos. So we have one leg of the triad is missiles being launched out of the ground, and then the other leg is the missiles are launched from a submarine, and then the third leg of the triad is a stealth bomber, the B-2s or the B-21s, which are the new stealth bombers that are going to be replacing the B-2s. That's the nuclear triad. So we have the ground-based silos, we have the missiles launched from a sub, and then we have the B-2 stealth bomber, So those three legs of the triad make it difficult for one country to eliminate all of our nuclear capabilities. So let's say if Russia decided that they wanted to destroy all of our nuclear silos, we still have subs underwater that can launch missiles back at Russia, or we have the B-2s, so it makes it difficult for Russia or China to wipe out all of our nuclear capabilities and wipe out our counter-strike abilities. But with the hypersonic glide vehicle, it adds kind of another leg of the triad, because now you have something that can maneuver during flight, and it can also be mobilized on a vehicle. It can be deployed pretty much anywhere. It can be deployed from a vehicle, from underwater probably. It can be deployed anywhere. It could be deployed from space. You could have a space plane, or it could be launched from a space plane. It's a revolutionary technology, and I think that's going to be the next big thing, is hypersonic glide vehicles. And then obviously there's a lot of top secret programs around the world. I think we're going to see more UFO disclosures and more UFO things coming out. We had, this year we had David Fravor, who was the pilot of a Air Force pilot of an F-15, and he saw a UFO, and it was captured on thermal camera of his jet, and he talked about it. He's open about it, and the U.S. government and the military officially, stated that it was a UFO. They don't know what it was, and the U.S. government also acknowledged that they were tracking these UFOs for weeks before they actually sent David Fravor to check it out. So that begs the question: what do they know? What do they know that we don't know? And why are they keeping it secret from us? And obviously if they have radars, they track, constantly they're watching the skies, and they obviously know things that we don't know because they're constantly watching the sky with the radar, so I'm sure that's not the first time they've seen UFOs on radar. And from what David Fravor said that there were other pilots. If you watch the interview of David Fravor with Joe Rogan, towards the end of his interview, he mentions that, there's a lot of pilots that he spoke to on the East Coast that had similar encounters with UFOs. They were these tic-tac shaped, objects that could travel tremendous distances in a matter of seconds. Using, with no visible exhaust plume or anything like that. So I think we may see more UFO situations come out in the next decade or even in 2020. And who knows, we may even have a UFO disclosure or some type of proof that UFOs and alien life is real, and that there's some type of very intelligent alien life out there that's been checking out our planet for whatever reason. You never know, that could happen. Especially the situation with David Fravor, and now they're talking about building a space force, which makes me wonder, why are they building a space force? Maybe do they have knowledge of some kind of stuff that we don't know about, whether it's aliens or, some type of advanced aircraft, that the foreign governments have. But, now that they have the Space Force, they're going to be able to monitor space a lot more, and, maybe we'll see a lot more of these UFO encounters. So that should be interesting. We have to keep an eye on the election next year. I think that's going to be critical. We have a lot of radical Democrats like, Bloomberg and Biden. These guys, they want to take guns away completely. We even had Joe Biden say specifically that, being able to carry a firearm in a church is really not necessary, and he basically mocked the idea of somebody being able to carry a gun in a church. But as we saw in Texas a couple of days ago, over the holiday, we had, it was the Sunday before Christmas, we had a shooter come into a church in Texas, and he shot someone in the church, but there was actually somebody in the parish who actually was able to neutralize the threat, that shooter. And if that person in the church didn't have a weapon to neutralize the shooter, then, who knows what would have happened. Maybe he would have killed, a lot of people, 10, 20, 30 people, depending on how much, ammunition he had. You have guys like Joe Biden that say that it's crazy if you want to carry a weapon into a church. But, as we see, there's a lot of hate crimes going on. We also had in New Jersey, not far from where I live, there was a guy who came into a synagogue, a Jewish synagogue, and started attacking people with a machete, So people have a right to defend themselves and to use deadly force if necessary. We have a lot of people running for president now that don't believe in the Second Amendment. They don't believe in, American principles that we were founded on. This country was founded on the Second Amendment, keeping and bearing arms. That's what the British took away from us, was our firearms, so we don't want that to happen again. And that's what they're trying to do. There's a big agenda. There's a globalist agenda. If you guys don't think there's a globalist agenda, you need to do your research. There's definitely an NWO agenda, a New World Order agenda. George Soros. You have all these, super wealthy banks. All the global elites, the global banks and the global corporations, they're all working together to control our lives. They control the debt cycle. That's why most Americans, you can't buy a house anymore with cash. Most Americans have mortgages, loans for their cars. It's engineered that way. It's engineered to keep us in this cycle of debt, where we just make enough money to pay our mortgage, pay our car bill, and have a little money left over for food. And, we're supposed to be happy with that. We're supposed to be happy with, having all this debt, throughout our lives, college loans, car loans, mortgages, and it's all engineered. It's designed that way to keep us under control, because they want us to be busy working all the time and not have any time to think about critically, think critically what's going on in the world. Why is it that people work 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 hours a week and they still don't have enough money to pay their bills, barely? I mean, why? Why is it like that? And it's, in my opinion, it's engineered that way. They don't want the average person to have too much money and too much time, because if we have too much money and too much time, that gives us freedom, and they don't want us to have freedom. They want us to be, slaves. We live in a world where, most people we're all slaves. We make money for the big companies. It doesn't matter if you're a doctor, an engineer, or even a grocery store bagger. It doesn't matter. We're all slaves to the big companies because we're making them rich. We're making the CEOs of these companies billionaires, and we're making peanuts compared to what they make. And that's just the way our society is. But it's, I believe that all these big companies, they're all working together. They're part of a group, the Bilderbergs. You can read about the Bilderbergs. You can read about the Illuminati, the Freemasons. It's proven that all these CEOs of all these big companies, the bankers, the politicians, the presidents, all these powerful people, celebrities, influencers, all these like famous families, Kardashians, things like that, musicians. They're all part of a secret society, and they're all working together to push our society in a specific direction that they want us to go into. And what that direction is, in my opinion, is towards a new world order with one world government, one world currency, with our freedoms taken away, no gun ownership, unless you're in the military, and that's what they want. They don't want the people to have guns. Because if we have guns, we can revolt and we can fight back. But once they take the guns away, they can have total control over our society. And they can, and it's just look at like the Nazis or the Soviet Union. They took guns away and the people were helpless. They were at the mercy of the Soviet regime or the Nazi regime, because the people could not fight back against their government, the tyrannical government. And that's why we have the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment is an insurance against tyrannical governments, and it's never happened before where we had a tyrannical president, but you never know. It could happen, and that's why the Second Amendment is there, and we have a right to defend our families and to ensure that, we're free people. And if you take the guns away, then, that's the first step. And I believe that if there's an NWO or, a one world currency, they're going to try to take the guns away as soon as possible. I think that that's the first thing they're going to do. And, then we have, the mark of the beast technology is already here. We have the microchip. We have Elon Musk is working on Neuralink. Neuralink is basically, he's going to create an interface into people's brains where he's going to insert wires into people's brains with surgery, like little hair-sized wires that are going to go into your freaking brain, and it's going to be you're going to be able to interface with technology that way. So you're going to be able to think something in your head, and it's going to show up on your computer screen, and you're going to be able to control things mentally, and that's very dangerous, and to me that's mark of the beast type technology. And we already have microchipping, so I think in the next 10 years we have to keep an eye on what's going to happen with microchips and the mark of the beast, and things like that. And then we also have Iran. Iran is building up their nuclear capabilities. It looks like there's going to be some type of a peace deal next year with Donald Trump. He's looking at the making a peace plan, which is biblical. So we have to keep an eye on all these things: North Korea, Russia, China, mark of the beast, New World Order, Elon Musk and his Neuralink there's a lot going on, and there's a lot of things to prep for. So in Iran, obviously, they're building up their nukes. They're getting more aggressive. We saw this year, we saw Iran do a lot of aggressive things in the Persian Gulf region. They shot down a drone. They shot down that drone of ours. They've taken tanker ships hostage. So Iran is getting more aggressive, and I believe they're going to continue to get more aggressive, and that's something that we have to keep an eye on as preppers. Iran is a big threat. They have a big military. They're building up their nuclear capabilities. We've had Israel, mention, Prime Minister Netanyahu has put forth evidence that Iran is, building up their missile systems. So there's actually hard evidence to support that they're building up their nuclear systems and their ICBMs and their warheads. They have a big cyber warfare division. So we have to keep an eye on the Middle East, Iran, and what happens over there. And if there's any future aggressions, that's something to think about. But and obviously we have our financial system. We still have a huge amount of debt. This country is, we have trillions of dollars in debt still, and our the fundamentals of our economy are not that great. There's a lot of fundamental issues with our economy. Like I was saying, we have the debt cycle. Everybody in the U.S. pretty much has debt. Most people have debt. Student loans, car loans, homes, that's a problem. Our society is built off of debt. People today, they need loans to buy things, and a lot of people have loans, and that's a problem. There's some fundamental issues with our economy and our financial system, and also the stock market is at a very high level. It's possible that we could see a correction and the stock market, go down, especially if there's some type of a war in the Middle East, like if Iran, attacks Saudi Arabia, which was another thing that happened this year. We had Iran sent a bunch of missiles into Saudi Arabia, and they bombed a bunch of oil refineries, which effectively knocked out 30% of Saudi Arabia's oil capacity. That's a problem. If Iran decides to bomb Saudi Arabia and wipe out half of their oil, that's going to have a global effect, and it's going to affect the global economy. That's going to cause the dollar to crash. It's going to cause the stock market to crash. As soon as the investors realize that, the oil supply is depleted by 50% because, the oil that's going to have a ripple effect, on the economy, on the financial system. So that's something to keep an eye on, and that's why you have to be prepared. You have to have your food, your water. Even getting into silver and gold is a good idea as well. Silver and gold is a good idea just in case something happens with our currency. And then also you got to think about a one world currency. If there was a situation where, let's say, Iran launched missiles into Saudi Arabia and wiped out half of their oil facilities, that's a good reason to introduce a one world currency, by the UN or something like that. That would be basically ushering in the biblical prophecy, which talks about the beast and the Antichrist. The Antichrist will be a world ruler that's going to control everything, and he's going to force people to take the mark of the beast, which is basically some kind of chip or something on the right hand or forehead that you won't be able to buy or sell anything without that mark of the beast on you. The New World Order, the one world currency, it really what it needs is an economic collapse in order for it to get started. And something like Iran, launching missiles into Saudi Arabia could be the catalyst for a new world order and for a one world government, for the Antichrist to come on the scene and rescue everybody from all the problems of the world, the financial problems, the economy, the currency issues. The Antichrist would come on the scene and say, oh, I have the answers for everything. You don't need to believe in God anymore. You don't need to pray. You don't need to go to church. You have me. I'll take care of everything for you. And that's very dangerous, and that's what the Bible says will happen. The Antichrist will come on the scene as a white horse. He's going to come as a savior. And, he's going to manipulate people into thinking that he is the way to salvation, when really, Jesus Christ is the only way to salvation and to heaven. So, look out for anything like that, related to a one world currency in 2020 or beyond the next decade. I think that could happen. Biblically, we're living in the last days, If you look at what the Bible says in the book of Daniel, book of Ezekiel, book of Revelation, it's pretty clear that we're living in the last days. You can look around and you can see there's wars and rumors of wars. You have disobedient children. You have the breakdown of the family. You have the rise of, alternative lifestyles, the rise of drugs, the rise of horrific crimes. You have poverty and famine all around the world. Even in the U.S., you have some areas in Appalachia where people are living in poverty. 50%. Some parts of West Virginia and Kentucky, people are living. 50% of the people are living in poverty. In the United States, a third world country, you have people that are living, in horrible conditions. And then obviously you have famines, diseases. We've seen all kinds of bizarre, diseases come on the scene. We had H1N1, swine flu, all these different, diseases that have been coming out in the last 10 years, which are pestilences, and we have all these different super bugs, MRSA, methicillin resistant, whatever bacteria, I think it's like streptococcus or staphylococcus, I don't remember what the name is. MRSA, which is a super bug. We have the rise of HIV. We have all these different, germs that are out there now, and there's going to be more of them, as this world gets more populated, and as we get more into the last days, we're going to have more of these bizarre diseases popping up that didn't exist before. It's all in the Bible. The Bible talks about that, So I think that's pretty much it for this video. It's another long video, but I had a lot of information I wanted to share. I hope you enjoyed the video. And like I said, guys, as always, the 3 P's. Remember the 3 P's: prepare, practice, and persevere. You prepare by gathering food, water, and critical gear. You practice with your critical gear, and then because you prepared and you practiced, you can persevere through an SHTF situation. And remember too that SHTF is a mental thing, so you need to have the proper mental toughness and resiliency in order to survive in SHTF and to persevere through it. You can't just rely on your preps and your practice in order to persevere. You need to be adaptable and figure out solutions to different things. You can't prepare for everything, so you need to have the mental aspect in order to persevere. So remember, prepare, practice, and persevere. And thanks for watching my videos, guys, and thanks for supporting me this past year. I have, like I said, a lot of new videos coming out in 2020. I'm going to talk about conspiracies, world events, long-range shooting, bug-out practice, survival skills. I have a lot of things I want to do. I'm going to do more Bible studies and Bible prophecy. And please subscribe if you're new to my channel. Subscribe to my channel if you like the video, and feel free to browse through some of my other playlists and watch my videos. I have a ton of videos on a lot of different topics. I'm sure you can learn things from watching my videos. And please continue to support my channel, comment, like my videos, press the thumbs up button. It's important that you press the thumbs up button on my videos, because then YouTube will suggest my videos and things like that, and it'll be easier for people to find my videos, which is better for you guys too, because it will show up in your news feed. When you press thumbs up on my videos, it will show up on your feed, because you watch my videos a lot and you like them. It will show up on your feed. So just keep doing that. And I have my live streams every Friday night at 10 o'clock Eastern Time. I'm going to continue to do those in 2020. So that's pretty much it for now. Thanks for sticking with me through this long video. Like I said, I hope and pray that you guys have a great 2020. And I wish all you guys good fortune in the next year. And I'm going to pray for everybody and keep you guys all in my prayers. That's pretty much it. All right, guys, take care. God bless, and be safe if you're going to be going out and drinking. Make sure you don't drive drunk and things like that. All right, guys, God bless.